and it is episode. Fuck, I already forgot. There it is.
218.
Episode 218 of the Metal Roundtable.
Hard to
I am
believe.
Metal Rob, and with me, as always,
Carcass John.
yes, but
Yes.
today, kids.
Yeah, it gets better and better every week.
Yes, the single best storyteller we've ever had on the show. There are a couple of close seconds, but for the third time, and in fact, that's the most we've ever had any guest on.
Yep.
The great Charlie Bellmore is here. What's up?
What's up, guys?
Sweet.
How are you, brother?
Not too bad. Not too bad at all. I was just thinking, like, how I knew I did this more than once, but I couldn't remember if it was 2 or 3 times already. So
yeah, this is the third time. Well, we are glad to have Charlie back with us, and we're going to get into some stuff that he's got going on. But right now, you know him and you love him. It's time for Carcass's Pick of the Week.
Pow. We're supposed to have like a Batman thing or some sort of a graphic on the screen that goes pow or whatever.
Oh,
anyway,
damn. Okay.
Pick of the week. And Charlie, we started doing this, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. And I'm going to do something that I didn't intend to do, but because last week I had Judas Priest stained glass as something that every metalhead needs in their collection. And it got so complicated that I thought I need a hard rock and pick and then a heavy metal pick. So this week, my hard rock pick is Deep Purple in rock.
nice.
I think this is important for every even if you're not a metalhead per se, I think this is an important record. It describes heaviness in a different kind of way. And back when I was a kid, when I bought this when I was 13 or 14 years old, a couple years ago, this was deemed heavy metal. In fact, Deep Purple was deemed some of the heaviest. So Deep Purple in rock. This happens to be a German pressing. Normally you'll see it. It's like blue. Oh, it looks like this. But I picked this up at the Utrecht record convention over there in the Megaplaten over in Holland, and that was cool. But my heavy metal pick of the week, and I'm going back to back with Judas Priest, but I'm sorry, this new record is absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, it's so great.
Dude, and you said something on Facebook that triggered this. I was just going to wait around, pick it up maybe whenever I could. And you said, to me, Judas Priest is heavy metal. And I thought, you know what? Doggone it, Charlie Bellmore's right again. And so I actually went to Target, which I don't normally do. And because this is a special release, it's got 3 bonus tracks. The third is just okay, but the other 2 are phenomenal. But the whole record is a ripper. I can't believe these guys just keep getting bigger or better and better and better with every release. So, Judas Priest, Invincible Shield, that's my pick of the week, along with Deep Purple in rock. You can't go wrong with the Carcass John pick of the week.
You really can't. And you know what else you can't go wrong with? That thing that's sitting over your right shoulder that I'm going to bring up every time.
Yeah, those are like Easter eggs. You know, when you're watching a movie, I just try to hide things here, there, and everywhere. Yep. And I tried to find that doggone Toxic Holocobra shirt that I designed, because that's actually how I met Nikki and Charlie. Nikki's Charlie's brother, the drummer, and they were in Toxic Holocaust. And I think, and no offense to anybody else that's ever been in the band, but I think that was the strongest lineup right there.
And, thank you.
And some of my favorite records are those that you played on. And I'm not saying that just because you're here. I'm saying that because it's true. And once again, he's got a killer lineup now. We saw him with Havoc on this last tour that he did, and they rip, but it's not the Bellmore brothers type of rip. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. But I couldn't find. I've got like, I don't know how many shirts. I've lost track, and the Queen comes over sometimes, and she said, if you ever get rid of any shirts, pass them through me. I said, no, you've already got 400 or 500 shirts, and if I let you go through my 600 or 800, then you're gonna have 600 or 800 too, and then it's just senseless, because in by fall we're putting the band back together, and so we're gonna have a house full of T-shirts. for sure.
Oh,
But
wow.
anyway, but that one's not going anywhere because that's one of my favorite, and always get a lot of mileage when I see people in the wild with that shirt. So anyway, but that's how I met Charlie and Nikki, and it doesn't matter how long we've been not in Communicado, we just always seem to find each other, and we're back to being buddies again, heavy metal buddies. So
Fucking A, man.
anyway,
That's right.
and
And,
here we are for the third time. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do have to shout out that Kings and Liars record, man. That's a constant rotator at my house. And the opening riff for Hang On for Dear Life just makes my metal weenie vibrate every time. It's so good. God, every time Audrey comes in and, I'm working or whatever, I've got that shit playing. And it's, anyway, what I said for the show today, if you saw it on Facebook, I said, we're going to have Charlie Bellmore, and he's got more riffs than your mom's had boyfriends. So, and it's true.
And it is true.
Let's get into it, man. You've had some new stuff come out. We're just going to touch on this really quick. You did a project with Many Eyes. The songs are fantastic.
Thank you.
Got off a tour. Love the tracks. Hopefully that'll, we'll see the rest of those songs at some point, but I know you were busy with that.
Yeah, I don't know when we'll see it, but they were talking at sometime in summer, so hopefully that's when it happens.
Awesome. Yeah, that'd be good. And yes, I said metal weenie.
I will quickly say that that tour that I just did with Many Eyes was by far the best tour I've ever done in my life. It was with Thursday and Rival Schools, and Rival Schools is Walter from fucking Quicksand and shit like that. So I was very excited to be there, and because I'm a big Quicksand guy, and literally the first show, we were playing this gigantic club, 2,000 person venue or something in Buffalo, and it was sold out. And Thursday did their sound check, and there was, this gigantic amount of space in front of the stage, and the drummer just goes, "Okay, everybody, our check's done. Let's pull this kit." And they pulled the drum set off, and we're looking around wait, they're getting rid of the drum set so we could get on the riser. And there was no giant backdrop, and there was they never kept their drum set on stage. It was the most professional, simple thing. They were just the coolest dudes, and it was a goddamn blast of a tour.
That's awesome. Well, the songs are great, so check that out. You can find it on Spotify. But the thing that I am stoked about right now, and I'm sure you've got a ton of shit to say about this, and when I saw the artwork, I lost my fucking mind. So there's a new JASTA record. I'm just going to put the ball on the tee. I'm going to let you kick it, man.
The record is called "And JASTA for All." That is it's not 10 years old, but it's pretty close to 10 years old of a joke. Some point, I was already in Toxic Holocaust, so it was somewhere between 2015 and 2016. Somebody online, or he wanted to do a thrash record, and he just happened to mention it online, and I want to say somebody said you should call it "And JASTA for All" on Twitter or whatever. And he was like, "Okay, I'm doing it." And he then wrote me, I jokingly come to call this record Chinese Justocracy because it's taken so fucking long. He literally wrote me. I was away. He asked me if I could send him a Dropbox link to the song that last year the song with or did it already come out? The song with Zetro that came out last year. He asked me to send him that demo that I had, and I texted him a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, "You realize that when I sent you the first idea for "And JASTA for All," Obama was in office. Like, you realize that, right? Like, this was a long time ago. And he was like, oh, Jesus Christ. And we just slowly worked on it. I think all of the ideas, the idea was just to write like a love letter to like thrash metal, and then just have some, particularly, groovy parts as well. And I think it's like 10 songs, and it's just badass. I wrote the opening song. I don't remember the title of the song. We changed it so many times, but I wrote it during COVID. And Nick Petrino, who played guitar in the Dee Snider band with me, we were writing Dee Snider's Leave a Scar during COVID. And I had this one idea, and I just said, I just want to write. I was just listening to tons of albums, trying to get inspired for Dee. And I was trying to listen to Megadeth, and he loves Megadeth. And I said, hey man, did you ever notice that Megadeth like doesn't write songs? And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, they just write the most insane pile of riffs that you just put them together. And then they just like essentially bridge the riff sections with just solos. And they don't really make, in any logical context, they don't make sense. You know what I mean? And I go, but then you hear it and you're like, I mean, of course you would do that. Like, how could you play that song any differently? That was perfect. And so I just said, I'm going to write a Megadeth song. And that was like the challenge. And Dee didn't like it. And Jamie was like, we're using it for a JASTA for All. And it's like the opening track. And my original joke was, I'm going to write the most metal song ever made. And he was like, let's hear it. And I sent it, and he goes, I don't know, I think you might have done it. Like, we did the classic, like the gigantic intro, and then it's just a crazy riff and a big chorus. I think one of Petrino's guitar solos is like 31 seconds long or something. And then the two of us just go back and forth at the end, just like, and then we keep changing the riff. So the riff gets more complicated while there's guitar solos going on. And I was like, there's no way Jamie's gonna say, all right, cut all that shit out. And he was like, this is great. We're using all of this. And I was like, okay, all right. And could you do more? And we were like, sure, we can do more. And I think maybe there's one song without a guitar solo on this record, but every single song has guitar solos. Fucking Scott Ian plays rhythm guitar on one of the songs.
That's fucking great.
JASTA wrote me and said, hey man, I'm going to have a guy do guest guitars. I don't know if that's okay. And I was like, what, like a solo? And he goes, no, I wanted him to play rhythm. And I called him and I said, there better be a famous name at the end of your sentence, because I don't want to not play this song because I love this song. And he goes, it's Scott Ian. And I was like, good. That sounds great by me. I was like, no problem. We could do that. And I had to send him videos how to play the riffs and shit, like, because so he could just get it right and because they were in the studio doing, I think it was like that band with his wife or whatever. He was doing some other project, and he was like, oh, I could do it tomorrow. So I had to like send him stuff so he could do it quickly. And Jamie and I were just like giggling like children, like, this is fucking insane. Like Scott, Jamie and myself learned Scott Ian riffs for 1,000 years. And now like, he's like, I got to show me your riffs, how to play these riffs so I can play them tomorrow. And you're like, what is my life right now? I don't know what it is. But
I remember you saying that about the Dee thing, standing there and just thinking, that's the fucking guy, and having Scott play on your shit. That's awesome. But he's not the only guest on this thing.
No, we got who else is there? I know that Phil Demmel did a solo. We got Chuck Billy, Zetro, somebody else, I think.
So
maybe.
it really truly is a Bay Area, a nod to the Bay Area, I guess.
Oh,
I mean,
it's
come on.
big time. Yeah. I kind of when Jamie said, "Oh, we're gonna do this," and I just kept writing songs, and it was there was a few times I came in. It would be like right after a Toxic tour in 2015 or 2016, and my wrist would just be crazy fast, and I would just write like the craziest songs you've ever heard. And then going into the studio, like almost 6 or 7 years later, sometime last year, I retracted all, and it was like I had to practice at home for like 3 weeks to be able to play the songs in the studio because they were so fucking fast. And I'm like, oh god damn it, because you're just not used to it. Like it takes a minute. Like we did the JASTA for All thing last year. No, I'm sorry, JASTA and Friends last year, and we played a bunch of Slayer songs with Paul Bostaff and Phil Demmel. They came up and guested, and I mean, it took me a month to be able to be be ready for the Super Bowl. Like I can't just get ready. Kinda like I had to be able to do those songs in my sleep, and it was a lot, but it was harder to do. It was harder to get my wrist ready to write songs, to play songs that I wrote, but because it was just, when you go on tour and you only play fast stuff, when you come home, like those first 4 or 5 days, like you are like a human wrecking ball, and it goes away really fast though.
God, yeah, the conditioning. I want to read this real quick. For those of you that don't know, the album is JASTA for All. It's going to be coming out on May 17th. I'm on the shop on the Facebook page right now. It says, JASTA for All, the new album by Hatebreed frontman Jamie JASTA, will be released May 17th, 2022. I think that's a misprint, but you can pre-order it now and get it early. In this bundle, you can get stuff signed by Jamie, and it tells all the tracks, 10 songs. Nick Petrino's on it, Chuck Billy's on it, Scott Ian's on it, Phil Demmel's on it, like you said, Steve Souza Zetro's on it. And forgive me, I don't know, I'm going to feel like a dumbass. Who's Joey Concepcion?
Joey Concepcion is actually he was a JASTA guitar player for many, many moons, and he just replaced he just joined Arch Enemy. He just replaced the guy that left. Who was the guy that left?
Jeff Loomis.
Jeff Loomis.
Jeff Loomis. He just replaced Loomis in Arch Enemy.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that all comes around now. I got it. All right. I remember seeing that announcement that Jeff had moved on and they'd got somebody. Now that rings the bell. So do you guys? So it literally just started with the joke, and you sent a riff, and then this whole album comes out. Was it all brand new stuff? Did you revisit riffs from projects you hadn't used? Or
no. I mean, the opening track, it was like I pitched it for Dee's Leave a Scar album. And Dee just didn't want to do it, and that was the only one. But everything else, I just said, listen, these are just like I really love the band Zeke. I fucking love Zeke. And I was like, I want to write like the thrash metal equivalent of that, where it's just like really fast, really punky, with like shreddy solos constantly, and like everything just sounds ignorant, like, and loud and crazy. And we just kept going through it, and then as we kept going, I'd be like, oh, there should be like a whatever, like a beat down part or something. And there's one song, I think it's Armor Your Mind on the record, and like I just wrote like a killer like breakdown riff, and I was like, oh, I wonder if JASTA will like this. And then he wrote like this insanely catchy like crowd part, and I was like, oh my God, I want to play this song live so bad because it's just a total like mosher, and it's very, very, very exciting.
That's awesome. So will there be a tour for this thing?
Yeah, that was what I was going to ask.
I would say, who knows? Jamie he had planned a bunch of the 30th anniversary Hatebreed shows. He had planned 4 or 5, and and then like they went up and they got more and more and more, and he just announced like a Euro tour and an American tour this year. So there is a lot going on in his world now. So I couldn't even begin to imagine him planning a JASTA tour in the middle of it. But with doing the Milwaukee Metal Fest on top of it, which is I've told him for the last 2 years since he started doing the Milwaukee Metal Fest that he's completely out of his mind, because it's like, how you got to deal with like 50,000 bands now. Like you could have been dealing with one band, with just your band, but now you want to talk to every band to play this festival. And the record comes out the day of the Milwaukee Metal Fest pre-party, which we're JASTA will be headlining, and we're doing a JASTA and Friends thing. I know Bobby Blitz is going to be there. I know Zetro is going to be there. So expect some Overkill and some Exodus songs. And I can't remember who else was confirmed. I don't want to spoil it if they weren't. But
right.
But yeah, last year was incredible, and hopefully this year is equally incredible or better.
I'm ready for the CD to show up. I'm gonna be Carcass and I'll be circle pitting on the show.
Wait, well, when you said fast and ignorant, are we talking like fast and ignorant like SOD, or like violence, or like, I mean, what kind of fast and ignorant are we talking about?
Geez, it's kind of all over the place. The only thing I think is tough for me personally, I never think I can like match wits with like Metallica riffing, because it always eludes me. I don't know how they did that, but like I was trying to like do like Rust in Peace and Slayer and Exodus and Testament and all that kind of stuff, just trying to go as just super, but with like a punk hardcore overlay, you know what I mean? Like, so it's kind of everywhere.
That's cool.
All right, now I'm ready for the doorbell to ring and for the postman to say, "Here you are."
I know. I didn't realize there was already a song out there, so I'm gonna have to go find that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it's God damn it, I can't remember what we played. We played two of them at last year, but I think only one of them's out. Let me see. I could tell you what it's called right now. Assimilation Agenda. That's what it's called.
I'm looking at assimilate. Yeah. That's got Zetro on it and Joey. Okay. Man, I met Zetro for the first time.
Hold on. I don't remember. I like Googled it, and the news is saying it's for something else. It's for. Oh no! No. This is right. Okay, it was. I just was reading poorly because we're talking, but yeah, that's the one on the record, and it's badass.
I'll tell you what else is badass is that fucking Ripper thing that you did.
Oh, thank you.
God damn, that's good, man.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that.
Oh,
was that a full length, or was that just an EP?
That was an EP.
Huh. I need to dive into that one too.
Last year at Milwaukee Metal Fest, we got to play this. I think on Saturday we all stayed, and then on Saturday we got to play the Little Room with Ripper, and we got to do that record, and then we did, I think, Burn in Hell and
oh wow,
one other his era Priest.
Sure.
I can't remember the other one now.
Was he? I mean, is Milwaukee Metal Fest still like a 20-minute cattle call? You got 20 minutes and you play on a club kit and you just basically plug in and go.
Yeah. And it's some of the bands took a little bit longer. I mean, Crowbar played the entire self-titled album last year there, which was like fucking amazing. And But yeah, like the little tiny bar stage is just real quick turnovers, and then the bigger stage downstairs is a little slower, and then upstairs is like a more traditional festival, so it's got more time to it. But I was personally totally pumped because I love Biohazard, and I didn't realize they're one of those bands that you like forget about how many songs you know and love from Biohazard, especially being from the Northeast. Like Biohazard was a big deal here, and I got to see the first concert back, and they just fucking killed it. And I kept freaking out almost every song, and then I just kept texting JASTA because he was backstage, and I was like, I can't believe they're doing this song. And he's like, I know. Because it's just fucking. I don't like to see shows backstage, so I was like, no, I'm gonna sit in the crowd because this is a fucking blast. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I want to pimp the albums again. First of all, this came out a couple of years ago, year and a half ago, maybe. This EP,
yeah, probably about this time last year, or maybe a little later.
Maybe it says 22, but yeah, that could have just been when they did the art. But yeah, it's been out for a little while. But man, it is good traditional metal. It's got the Bellmore brothers on guitar and drums. Super easy to find. Tim is very easy to find. You can pick this up. He'll sign it for you. It's killer. But I want to tell you again, just find JASTA on Facebook. They've got a super simple shop set up there, and you can go get a signed poster and CD. You can get a CD and a T-shirt. They got vinyl. They got all kinds of good shit up there. I ordered a bundle yesterday. I've got the CD and the poster coming, so nice. I'm stoked about that. But yes, support more than ever, and you can speak to this. I think the fog is starting to lift on people believing that rock stars are well off or millionaires. The number one thing you can do, go to a show and pick up a fucking T-shirt or visit the website and buy a CD, because record deals aren't like they used to be.
No, they are not.
How can you kind of speak to your experience in the state of the industry right now?
Oh God. It's when I feel like, depending on the level you are, if you're like a low level band up to like a mid level band, you're ostensibly like a traveling T-shirt salesman. Mm-hmm. And you're making money. You'll be able to, the bigger you are, you'll be able to, you'll be able to make money every show. Like, even if you made no money off of merch, you can like make a little bit of money, but you'll be able to put your money, put the money in the gas tank, all that kind of stuff, all the stuff that the band say at every single show. You can do that when you get to a certain level, but the T-shirts just make such a difference. I mean, we did a Kings and Liars tour 2 years ago now for Transition Animals, which John made such an amazing cover. And we did it for, I think it was like a 2-week tour. And I mean, we're just a little power trio, just having fun, doing a side thing. And because we made like $1,000 some shows on merch, we came home. We rented a Sprinter to do the tour because we don't have a vehicle to do tours anymore, because we've done so many tours over the years that we kind of got rid of all the old vans and trailers and stuff because they were so old. And we rented a vehicle and came home, and I was like, hey guys, just so you know, like we like broke even before we even play this last show. Like we paid for the expensive Sprinter, all of the gas, and the hotels every single show. And now we're gonna and then we played the last show, and it was our hometown, so we made a really nice haul, and we weren't rich from it, but we lost no money, and that was just a little tiny band. And so the merch is so wildly important if you like a band. And you'll hear venue people over the years, they'll ask you like, oh, what are you doing for merch? How, what are you doing? Like $20 a head or something, which is like an insane amount of money if you're playing like a gigantic show. But they'll ask shit like that because they're curious. Because in their mind, they're like, oh, if they have fans that are buying merch, these are fans that might be buying merch for us. Like it's maybe we can do business with them essentially. And sometimes it's about the similar style of music, and sometimes it's just if you've got a good following, or even if you don't have a great following, but if you just have a really passionate following, other bands will want to work with you because those people will come out every time. And sometimes a sellout will get the headlining band a bonus or something, and they'll be like, oh, I really love that we toured with so-and-so, and every time we play every time we play Texas, we don't make any, we never sell out, but when we toured with those guys, all their fans are in Texas and we sold out. So we got to remember that. And it's like stuff like that. You just have to make the whole business now is about making super fans. Like those guys that are just going to come out every single time. And I the first time I ever saw real super fans, I mean, JASTA has super fans, a lot of them. But the first time I saw real super fans was when I joined Toxic Holocaust, and we had vinyl of every single album on the first tour I did with them. And people would walk in and say, give me one of each. And they would pay buy all 5 vinyl for whatever the fuck we were charging them. And then they would leave and walk outside and put it all in their car and then come back in. And you're like, Jesus Christ, like that's a fan right there. Like
but speaking of venues and them asking questions, et cetera, a trend that I've noticed in is venues taking not only a percentage, but like a huge percentage of your merch money. Is that a concern, or is that something you kind of account for when, instead of a $10 shirt, now you're selling it for $15 or something like that?
Yeah, all of that shit sucks. It's just awful. I hate it. It happened like 15 years ago. I was playing a show in New York. I had a band called Phantoms, and we were on tour, and we played New York, and it was just like a joint thing, and we were playing with God Forbid and Death Angel or something at BB King's in New York. And we walked in, they're like, oh yeah, there's a merch cut. I'm like, what the fuck is a merch cut? And they're like, oh yeah, the venue gets 10% of all your shirt money. And you're like, okay. And then they said, just give it all to these people, they sell it. And I remember just saying, well, I mean, if people are selling it, sure, I'll give them a merch cut, like, because they're selling it. So it's like we're paying their people, but at least I don't have to like climb, it's a New York venue. So you got to like go up a fucking escalator to get to the merch or whatever. You're like, at least I don't have to be up here all night. That's great. That's fine. And I think that's how it started. And then at some point they just started saying like, no, even if you bring your own table and all of you, and you have a merch person, like we still have to take merch from you. And it was like very odd. And I know like Live Nation got so much shit about it that they stopped. And now like some of the Live Nation venues just like give you extra money now from that. Have you guys heard of the On the Road Again thing?
No.
Yes, I have.
On the Road Again is this program that they did with Willie Nelson, and you show up to a Live Nation venue, and at some point they walk over and they say, here's your check for, whatever you need to play. And then they give you additional money. Like they give you gas cards from Shell, and then they give you additional cash. And I'm sure that's some crazy thing that Live Nation is doing because they're like getting a gigantic tax write-off for it. But like you can make like 50% more at every venue because of that, because they're just giving money away. And I mean, on the Many Eyes tour, we got so many gas cards at the end of the tour, we had to like break them up. Like we each got 3 gas cards, or 2 or 3, whatever it was. But they have like hundreds of dollars on each card because they're just giving them to you to get down the road. And I mean, we kind of jokingly were just like, man, like and like the bigger your vehicle and the bigger your band, like you get more, I guess. And at least that's what I heard, but it's like, it's very crazy. But when you really think about it, like all those mid-level bands, like if you don't have to pay for gas because you play a whole bunch of Live Nation venues, I mean, that's a lot of saved money right there. I mean,
I was blown away when I don't want to give away the band because I don't want to say anything embarrassing, but we were in Little Rock and we saw a big headliner, you know, in a big club, and they had several opening bands. And the reason that we were there in Little Rock is because my buddy barbecued for these guys that he's gotten to know. And so we were feeding them, you know. So we get up there, and if you've watched the show, you've heard the story, but they're super, it doesn't matter. It was Exodus. So, and I was going to say that earlier, if you got to work with Zetro, that dude is high energy. I had never met him before. He is high energy, man. He was so cool. But what he explained to me that blew me away was he was like, man, this is really cool that you guys are doing this for us, but we're fine. We're going to make money, and we appreciate it very much. He said, but the middle band is going to be very appreciative because they're not pulling what we're pulling. And he said, the opening band is fucking starving.
Yeah.
Anyway, at the end of the night, you can pack this up. He's like, dude, they will live off of that for 2 or 3 days after this. And that just blew me away because it was a band I knew about, you know, and I was just shocked. I don't know what else to say. It was just mind boggling. And then as we've done more of those gigs and gotten to be around people that are talking business, the merch cut is absolutely unthinkable to me because I don't even know how that works out. You're showing up, the venue's paying you to play, but you're paying them back a part of your merch. It just doesn't make sense to me. I never understood that.
I'll tell you a funny story that happened with Toxic a million years ago. They had a merch guy, and they do the merch cut, you know. And so the guy comes in, and normally when they do the merch cut, it's like, we're going to count in all of your merch. So they count it all in. And then at the end of the night, they count it all again. So they really know, you know, you sold 27 hoodies or whatever, you know, I want my cut. So this guy just doesn't do that. And that's the thing that happens. A lot of venues are like, yeah, merch cut, you know, 15% on your shirts or whatever. And so many bands, like, because they're like, we need to see your tally or whatever. And so many bands are like, okay, well, every 5 shirts, I'm writing down 1, you know, like, because you're like, go fuck yourself. And, but so this Toxic show, the merch guy is just like, they're like, hey, what'd you sell? And he goes, we only sold like 3 shirts. And I guess I was not in the band at the time. And the guy turns around, and there's still tons of people there. And like everybody is wearing a Toxic Holocaust shirt. And he's like, you didn't count us in, did you? And he was like, all right. And he was like all mad. And I just loved that he was like, we only sold like 3. And you're just like, I love that because, you know, you didn't count us in. So prove that they didn't all show up with that shirt on, you know, like, but it's such a weird thing to just say, hey, we want money. You're like, why? Explain why.
Right.
Like, there's no dressing room. Like, I have to like piss in a bucket, but right. I need, you want some of my t-shirt money.
You may not have remembered this, but it was a downtown Dallas venue, and that's all I'm going to say. But Joel asked me, can you walk upstairs with me? I'm having trouble collecting. And this guy is saying that I owe him money, and we haven't even been paid tonight. And so I walked up the stairs with him and did the old, you know, back to the door, arms folded thing.
Yep.
And and Joel got his money eventually, but and then the guy had the gall to say as he was walking out the door, "Oh yeah, and by the way, you owe us a cut for the merch too." And Joel just said, "Just keep walking." He told me, he said, "Just keep walking." And I was shocked. That was my first dip into that, and then I started seeing it pop up at other venues, and I'm just like, how the reason why they're selling drinks and they have people in their venue is because they're coming to see you guys.
Yeah.
And so why, if they're paying you to be there, why would they make you kick it back? I mean, I understand a business model where you're trying to make business, but you're a bar, so you're selling drinks.
That are going to drink.
Did they give you a cut of the bar sales?
Right.
No. And therefore, what are we talking about here?
My guess is something happened at some point that was like similar to the airlines. I'm sure you guys are old enough where you remember in the mid 2000s where they said, "Hey guys, we're all about to go bankrupt. All the airlines we're doing so bad. So just for a little while, we're going to charge for bags on the planes.
Yeah.
Just a few minutes just to get ourselves even, and then we'll be fine." And then like literally like 2 years later, it's like record profits for airlines. It's like, "Oh, so you guys are going to get rid of those bag fees?" And they're like, What are you talking about? Why would we get rid of them when we're making? And I think that's probably what happened at some point with some of the venues. I'm sure it was a Live Nation thing where they're like, "Oh, things are bad right now. And all our venues in California are doing poorly. Let's just charge. Let's get a little tip on the merch or whatever." And people you just kind of do it. I mean, there's been times over the years where I've spent so long since I've done it, but you could scare some promoters if they're little clubs. I mean, if it's a Live Nation, like you're going to have to pay if they want it. But sometimes you're like, "Okay, just like give me a W-2 since you're like, or like, like you ask for certain tax things because you're essentially demanding that they pay you. And you're like, "Okay, well, I need this tax form." And they're like, "Hey, you know what? We don't need to do a merch cut." And because they're like, yeah, because they don't want evidence that they're making all that money. That's why.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the dirty little secret too, especially using that airline adage, is they say they're losing money, but it's like saying, "Okay, we're gonna have Toxic Holocaust play here tonight. We expect to make about $10,000 with people buying merch and booze or whatever, but buying booze." So as a bar, I'm thinking, okay, my number is 10 grand. And this should be a good night for us because Toxic's going to draw people in. Well, I only make $9,000, and I say, "God, I'm losing money. I lost $1,000 on this gig," and you really didn't lose the money.
Yeah,
you
it's
just
$1,000.
You just didn't make as much as you thought you were going to make.
It's $1,000 imaginary dollars. It's
right.
It's like when your wife or girlfriend says, "I saved so much money on this dress," and you're like, "No, you still spent the money. You just spent less money."
Right.
And you it's not like they wrote you a check several days later and gave it to you. You didn't make money or like you still spent it.
You could have saved 100% by not going to Kohl's. Jeez. So
anyway,
we've talked about some of the dark side of a little bit of the dark side of the business and some of the shitty things like that, and how some bands are really struggling. But tell us something, I don't know, what's just something kick-ass that's happened to you on the last tour or something? Just a venue that was killer, or somebody did something really killer, or I don't know. You've always got a funny story. I'm trying to figure out.
I mean, my personal, because I'm a fucking nerd for the band Quicksand and Walter Schreifels in general. Jackson Guitars, who I work with, I asked them to get me a guitar for the Many Eyes video, and for the video for Future Proof, which is a green screen video. And I was like, "Yeah, it's a green screen video." And they said, "Oh, well, we what guitar do you need?" And I just said, "Well, I really like one of these. They're like these soloists, which are just like, they look like, Jackson guitars, like Stratocasters, if people know what that is." But so I said, I really like this series. And there was a black and a white and a gold. And he goes, which color do you want? And I said, white. And he goes, we only have gold. And I'm like, okay, well, why did you fucking ask me? And so they send me the gold one. I was out on tour with Generation Kill, Rob Dukes' band. I did a tour in November and December. And I get home on Christmas Eve, and I walk in, the guitar's sitting there. It's gorgeous. And it was new, and it didn't sound great because I didn't like the pickups and stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to bring this guitar out with me just because Jackson sent it to me. I tried to use it in the music video, but it was a green screen, and the gold just made it like disappear. Like it was just the perfect shade of gold that when I would like start moving around, it would be like blank, blank. Like I had to like just not move at all. And you're like, God damn it. So we leave for this Many Ice tour, and we're out for like, I don't know, like a week. And I've already been totally stoked because Walter, like literally the second show, Walter was like, hey, dude, hi, I'm Walter. Nice to meet you. You are an amazing guitar player. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. So my whole life's already made because the guy from Quicksand thinks I'm an awesome guitar player. And then like a week in, I'm not really playing the gold guitar. Like every 3 or 4 shows when the strings and the other guitar get worn out, I'm like, I'll play the gold guitar tonight. And then Walter, during one of the our sound checks, is like, hey, dude, can I get a look at that gold guitar? And I was like, yeah, go on over. And he's looking at it, he's staring at it, and he's like, where's your strap? Can I play this? And I was like, yeah, sure. So he's playing it, and he's like, this is just such a kick-ass guitar. I fucking love this guitar. And I was like, oh wow, that's awesome. I love this neck. I love how it feels. That gold is so perfect. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. And then like he walks away, and I just looked at my brother and I said, well, I guess I'm getting buried with this guitar now because Walter played it and he likes it. And, I'm now just in love with it. And then like he was just, my brother was, Nick was teasing me like the rest of the tour because every time the strings got worn out on the gold guitar, I just immediately changed them. So I was like, I got to keep playing that gold guitar.
Yeah, that's funny. That's awesome, man. That now I got to go check out all these bands. I've been writing notes and Quicksand, and you mentioned some others. I'm gonna have to go back.
Generation Kill. You need to check them out. That's the Rob Dukes thing, and that is a ripper.
If you don't know Quicksand, I mean, we might have a problem here. I mean, Quicksand is a big deal. Quicksand was from the 90s. The guitar player who is the singer, Walter, was in the hardcore band, the Gorilla Biscuits, in the 80s. Okay. And then he started Quicksand, which is essentially a lot of people credit it starting what's called the post-hardcore like movement. And I didn't even want to get into hardcore music because I didn't understand it. Like I was like, I don't know, like they're just like doing fast shit. I don't get it, like because it was like just weird punk music to me. I didn't understand because I was like 14 or something. And then one of my friends was like, oh, check out this Quicksand band. They did a tour. They toured with Anthrax during Sound of White Noise. And I was like, oh, really? And then I went and listened to them, and I was like, oh, this I get. Like, I understand, even though it's weird and it kind of sounds like grunge and it kind of sounds like hardcore and it kind of sounds like metal, like I understood it, and it made me get into all hardcore after that because I was able to, that was like the thing that opened the door for me.
Well, I do not want to have a problem, so I will be checking this out immediately.
They're great. They have there's a record called Slip, and there's a record called Manic Compression, with both from the 90s, which are unbelievable records. Unbelievable.
So what would be the chance of Kingdom of Sorrow doing anything in the future? Any at all?
I will say I was going through my hard drive literally today, compiling a bunch of riffs for I was trying to find I've written a bunch of like acoustic stuff over the years, and I was trying to find it all, and I never describe anything. They're just like all dumb names. So it's like, oh, I don't know what I guess I have to push play on whatever Popcorn Fingers is, like, because you're just like trying to figure out fucking names of dumb shit. because there's no lyrics, there's just noise. So you're like, well, what am I going to name it after? And so you got to sit there and go through it all, which takes forever. And I found like 3 or 4 songs that I was like, these could probably be Kingdom songs. And every 6 months, I'll get a text from either Jamie or Kirk about like, hey, maybe we should do that. Maybe in a couple months we should try to do some Kingdom stuff. And last year at Milwaukee Metal Fest, we did Kingdom songs with Kirk for JASTA and Friends, and it was the same thing. See how you get off. My cat jumping up behind me. But he was bringing it up there, like, oh yeah, maybe this fall we'll work on Kingdom, and I was like, okay, sounds good. And it's like everything has to fall in perfect place to make it happen. And
kind of like Justice for All 10 years later or whatever.
Yeah. The night it's harder because it's too apparently Kirk's just having a blast, so he just keeps going out on tour. So I will say I saw that I think it's this summer Crowbar and Hatebreed are in Europe together. So I'm definitely going to be compiling whatever riffs I have. So one night when they're like all just talking after the show and they're like, we should do some Kingdom stuff. And Jamie just has like spur of the moment ideas. And he's like, oh, hey, Charlie, guess what? And they'll just think of something. And sometimes it'll just be like, never mind. That was dumb. But if it's something I like, I'll try to respond. So I'll definitely put together a bunch of Kingdom of Sorrow like riffs so I can like just send them, and because I'll know that like, okay, you'll actually be willing to listen to these right now because this is right up the alley because Kirk's like in the other room or whatever.
Right. So speaking of things falling into perfect order, what's coming up for you the rest of the year?
I'm not really sure. We have there's a very tiny, like a 3 or 4 day little run with Many Eyes and Thursday in a couple weeks, and then I have the Milwaukee Metal Fest with JASTA and Friends on May 17th, the day the record comes out. And after that, everything is just kind of up in the air right now. Everybody's waiting on offers and blah 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 blah, all that kind of stuff. All the negative part of the music business, which is the business. So still wait on all that kind of stuff. And I've had me and Nick Petrino from the D. Snyder Band, we've been like fantasizing about doing like a dual guitar solo fest kind of band thing. And so depending on our schedules, we'll probably try to do that this year. And so I'll be doing something somewhere, that's for sure. Yeah. And I know we're doing another Kings and Liars as well.
Ah, yes, that's the best part of the whole show right there.
Yeah, we've got like, I think there's like 5 or 6 like demos. It's all like right now it's all like fake drums and stuff. And my brother and I just batting ideas back and forth. And then we went in and me and Chris, the bass player, went and sang over all of them probably 6 months ago or whatever. But yeah, it's that'll definitely come out. Everything will have to come out respectfully. You don't want it to be like 3 weeks after this project comes out or whatever that you're also in. So we'll have to find a little time to respect it all. But there'll definitely be either a Kings and Liars EP or a second Kings and Liars CD in the next probably, I would say 12 months from now.
Okay, man, that's great news for me.
What about D. Snyder?
D. Snyder has again retired. He plays with the only thing he's doing right now is he's like Bret Michaels is doing some like tour where he brings out guests and they just do 2 or 3 songs. And D wrote us all recently, maybe right around Christmas or something, and he was just saying how his entire body hurts and he doesn't want to go on tour. But the 2 albums that we wrote together make him consider going on tour often. But he was like, I don't want to do it. And I mean, he lived just 2 or 3 days ago, he turned 69 years old. And he was like, I don't want to like fall on the floor and crawl around for Burn in Hell. And he just feels like my entire body's going to explode at some point. And we were like, dude, it's just like all those singers. It's insane. Like when we started the podcast, you were talking about, Invisible Shield by Judas Priest. And like Rob Halford has no business hitting those fucking notes at 72 years old. And there he is just doing it. Like it's not hard. And like maybe like it would literally and people like I've seen people say like, oh, he doesn't sound as good live. And you're like, okay, but like if Michael Jordan was like 72 years old and he wasn't winning the championship, but every year he was like getting to the NBA finals. Like you wouldn't say like, oh, he's not as good as he used to be. You'd be like, this is pretty fucking impressive. I mean, I can't believe he's doing this. Like, I don't know why we're not giving more metal artists their like tipping our hat to these guys. I mean, Dave Lombardo still like destroying the drums and, like now Benante out there just crushing it with Anthrax and Pantera. Like he's doing all the bass, like double bass parts for Becoming and stuff. And you're like, this is not a young man. And we should be giving these dudes the respect because heavy metal is like an athletic endeavor. It's not, they're not doing like BB King. Like it's like, they're going really fast and difficult, and it's something.
Yeah,
I get it when D's like, I want to put the armor down, and I don't want to have to do this all the time. And it's like, I'm sure. Like, I mean, we did one show after COVID, and I felt like I was gonna die because like I hadn't played a show in 2 years. And your body's just conditioned to jump around. And then I've never stopped my entire life. So, 25 years in, I stop and for COVID and then you get, and I was like, oh God, I can't even imagine how D feels right now because he had never stopped his whole life. He was always doing something every 4 or 5 months, even when the times were lean in the 90s and stuff, he would always be doing something. And he was like, I feel like I'm dying right now because it's like jumping in a really, really cold pool, like, and it's difficult that first time out.
Yep.
So I get it. And the records we did together are awesome. The 2 D Snyder records, For the Love of Metal and Leave a Scar. But that's he's definitely besides doing a couple guest spots, that's it for him.
Man, you've done some shit, my good man.
I know. I've got a sticky note, and I'm trying to remember all the bands he's been in, and it's just I ran out of sticky notes.
Oh, and I believe there might be a second Corpse Grinder album. We recorded one, but I don't know when it'll come out. But it's maybe this year. That might happen.
That's pretty cool too. That's a heavy SOB. That thing.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was like a month into COVID, like just sitting in my house, just tracking it all. And we had to like sync up to the internet, my brother and I, because, I'm in New York City. We were like terrified, what was going to happen and whatever, April 2020. And you're sitting there tracking it. And we had to use Pro Tools has some like live thing. And we were just like working on it live back and forth when I was tracking all the guitars because. So it was the weirdest recording I've ever probably done, but it was when you hear the final results, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm kind of speechless. Yeah, there's just so much good stuff coming. The Kings and Liars, I can't say enough about that. I'm really glad to hear about that, dude.
It's awesome.
But I want to remind you guys, Charlie's been in a ton of shit, a ton of killer shit. I didn't realize you even did the Corpse Grinder thing until right this minute. I knew about the album. I didn't know you played on it. And I thought I was up on your projects, but I'm going to check out Quicksand. But the new JASTA record will be coming out May 17th. It's called And JASTA for All. Please go to the Facebook page or just Google it. It's very simple to find. And please go buy a merch kit. There's tons of killer shit on there. You got records and CDs and signed posters and T-shirts and all manner of killer shit that you would want. And go see your favorite bands and buy shit off the table, please. Cool, man. You got any parting shots, Carcass, or?
No, man. I always love having Charlie on because I know it's going to be a full hour and we can get educated. And even I'm gonna, I can see the Quicksand tapes in my head, so I'm gonna go dig out another box because I know I got them in there. And I'm going to dig those out and listen to them. And seems like they came out with kind of that same era with like Paw and Prong and like you say, like Biohazard and that same era of the 90s. And so I'm gonna check them out. I can still see the tape cover. So that's what I'll be doing afterwards. But you know what, man, Charlie, anytime, man, you're always welcome. And if you're in or near town, I knew you were down in Austin, and it was on a Tuesday night, so that was just, as much as I tried, I just couldn't. I couldn't break loose, and it's a 3.5 hour drive without traffic. And Austin is notorious. Austin has traffic like New York has traffic. I mean, you just take a helicopter if you can, and because you want to avoid it all. But get close sometime because we'll. Even if it's Oklahoma City, that's what I was looking on the schedule. I was thinking, well, if they're in Oak City, that's closer than Austin for me.
Wow.
Easier drive too.
Yeah. So, and it's an easy drive because it's all interstate until you get there. So, but anyway, man, it's great to have you on, and I love the stories and love the education, and man, I'm stoked for you with Kings and Liars and the new JASTA thing coming out, and I'm kind of stoked now about a possibility of a new Corpse Grinder too, because me, I'm into a little bit more of the heavy stuff. But if you did a hair metal record, I'm sure that Rob would be just ecstatic.
You should have shaved your head so that.
Yeah, I should have shaved my head, but you know who would have had my hide.
Yeah.
So
hair for all of us.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So anyway, yeah. Well, this is what COVID did to me. When you were recording Corpse Grinder stuff, I had gotten my last haircut, and I just decided, you know what? If they're not going to allow us to do just certain basic human things, then I'm just not going to. So I didn't. I just didn't cut my hair, and it turned out okay because the woman I love and I'm going to marry here pretty soon is. She loves long hair, man. She likes a beard, so it worked out for everybody. But anyway, we'd love to hang out with you at some point in time, and if you get close, man, let's go.
Yeah, I'll definitely let you guys know.
If you're in Texas at the end of August, we're gonna have a huge party on the 31st of August. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be a wedding.
Yep. And there'll be a stage and equipment set up, and we will have a knockdown drag out. It'll be fun.
That's awesome.
Might even get up there. So
I want to see that. Charlie, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you coming on. It's always killer to hear the stories and all the stuff you've got going on. I just really appreciate your time, man. Thank you.
Oh, you guys are very welcome. Very welcome.
Awesome. Well, you know how we do it. As soon as I get the outro ready, because I'm a professional broadcaster.
Of course you are.
Click the tab. Yes. We're going to throw the metal horns, so get ready. Until next time for episode 218, this is Metal Robs on behalf of Carcass John and Charlie Bellmore saying, Metal will prevail. And now I go search for the button that I just picked up. Here we go.